Well, good morning everyone, and today is, well, it's just a Sunday ride out, and maybe it'll stop off for breakfast. Solo ride this morning. I've done a very chivalrous and romantic, thoughtful thing this morning, so I thought I'd treat myself with a little ride out. What I've done is, the wife has decided to have a bit of a clear out, sort out the kitchen drawers, kitchen cupboards, various cupboards dotted around the house, get stuff down from the loft, put things up into the loft. And obviously, as a bloke, the worst thing you can possibly do is get under someone's feet, isn't it? You don't want to be getting under someone's feet. So I know if I'd have stuck around in the house, whichever cupboard my wife wanted to open, whichever drawer she wanted to open, whichever door she wanted to walk through, I'd be in the way. So it's only right and proper, isn't it, that I should remove myself from that situation and get out of the way. I mean, who says that romance and chivalry's dead, eh? Not me. So now my wife is free and clear to do all the sorting out she wants without me getting in her way and getting under her feet. So to make sure I'm right out of the way, I've decided to come a little jaunt for half an hour or so, and as I say, maybe stop off some breakfast somewhere. So it's a Sunday, middle of October. It's a bit chilly today. I'm sort of regretting the mesh jacket with the t-shirt on underneath. I'm not sure that was the brightest idea. Probably could have done with an extra layer on, but hopefully I'll acclimatise in the next 5 or 10 minutes. And this is actually the first time I've been out since the France trip. If you've watched the D-Day beaches, the Normandy trip, videos are on this channel. And we came back just over a month ago, I think a month and a day or two. And I haven't been out on the bike since. To be perfectly blunt, the trip home kind of put me off riding for a couple of weeks. If you watch the video, we had a brilliant trip, really good trip. Packed loads in, saw lots of things. Weather was generally very, very kind to us. A little bit of rain on the last day, but nothing of any note. Sun was shining most of the time. It was amazing. And then on the way home, things changed a little bit. So it was dry all the way to the ferry port, which is a bonus. When we jumped on the ferry at Dieppe to New Haven, it was announced as a moderate crossing, and to be honest, that's pushing it a bit. It was, I'd describe it as pretty bloody choppy. We were rocking side to side. Not a particularly enjoyable trip back, but what can you do? And when we rolled off the ferry in New Haven, the sun was shining. Thought we cracked it here. It's a long slog home. We did toy with the idea of stopping off on the way back, but I just wanted to get home. So we all decided collectively we'd just hammer it. So New Haven up to the northwest, probably 5 hours or so ride. And the first hour and a half maybe, was absolutely spot on, lovely and dry. Traffic not too bad. And then the heavens absolutely opened and didn't stop for probably the last 3 hours of the journey. Traffic was a complete nightmare. The M6 was closed at Stafford. So I had to, by this time we kind of broke up and gone our separate ways. With some were further on. I just shot off from, I think, Oxford services. I wanted to get home as quick as I could, so I'd shot away up the front, hit a road closure, M6 closure at Stafford, so I was filtering for probably about 5 miles through completely standing traffic. And by the time we got home, I guess it was about maybe 10 o'clock, 10:15 at night. I was absolutely drenched to the skin, freezing cold. It was a thoroughly unpleasant ride home. It's great to look back on now. It was a bit of an adventure. That's how you look back on these things, and it was a bit of fun coming home, but at the time it was bleak. It was absolutely miserable. There was just zero pleasure in that last few hours. And what I did discover, because I've not really ridden this bike at night, I don't really tend to ride during winter, and we'll come on to that in a bit, or at night. So it was the first time I've been out in the pitch black and in the rain on this bike, and I have to say, I would have been better switching me phone torch on. It probably would have illuminated the road better than these standard headlights. They are pretty dismal, or standard headlight I should say, singular, because obviously one side is dip beam, one side's main beam, and they were completely rubbish. So we got back next day, or maybe the day after that, cleaned the bike thoroughly. It was completely caked from top to bottom in crud from France and from the rain-sodden journey home. So the bike got a thorough clean for a good couple of hours, every nook and cranny, ACF 50'd, everything, polished, waxed, the lot. It was put away in the garage, and it's been there since, hasn't turned a wheel since. Because I just seem to have had stuff to do, and again, I'm not sure, I can't really remember what that stuff was, but we just seem to have been busy with stuff. So it's not turned a wheel, and I thought, you know what, I'll just make a bit of an effort this morning whilst the wife was partaking in her favourite hobby of sorting stuff out. I thought I'd get out for half an hour and just give it a little bit of a run. And it's a beautiful morning. It feels pretty autumnal, I have to say. The weather feels like it's changed a little bit. It's a little bit colder. A little bit mist in the air. But it's nice to be out. So yeah, as well as giving the bike a thorough clean, I also fitted some auxiliary lights, which I'll show you when we stop off somewhere. Because as I said, the stock headlights on this were shown up for being absolutely appalling on that ride back. To the point where I didn't feel particularly safe. It wasn't illuminating the road, and I was, you know, you feel like people can't see you because they're that dim on the front. And the two lads on BMWs who were on the front strip, Kev and Neil, I think Kev's got them, but I know Neil certainly has. He's got auxiliary lights on his 1250, and every time I was in front of him in France and on the way back, you look in the mirror, all you see are those auxiliary lights. So they're brilliant for visibility, and I thought, yeah, I need to get myself some of them. So I got those, pretty easy to fix, only 10-minute, 15-minute job to put them on. Got the light bar, put the light bar on. That was, I think, 22 quid or something, a Denali light bar. And then I just bought some cheapy little auxiliary lights from eBay or Amazon, I think, 20, 25 quid maybe, something along those lines. Bought a length of 12-volt wire, because the wires they came with were probably about a foot long, so completely useless. So yeah, bought a couple of meters of 12-volt wire, and then fitted them on the Denali bar, ran the cable through the bodywork into the Thunderbox under the seats, so they only power up when the engine's running. There's no danger of forgetting to switch them off or them draining the battery. With the Thunderbox, everything runs only when the engine's running. And yeah, I'll stop and show you them later on, but so far so good. So on to the subject of riding in winter. As I say, you can feel the difference in the temperature today. I think it is due to warm up again a little bit during the week, but it is certainly colder than it has been today. I guess it's probably about, I don't know, 11 or 12 degrees, 13 degrees I suppose. Perfectly reasonable for riding, quite nice. And even though I've got the mesh jacket on, it's a bit chilly, it sort of blows the cobwebs off and feels fresh. So yeah, weather's changing, winter's on its way, I guess. And the question is, do I ride this winter? I know a lot of people, end of September, end of October, the bike gets one last clean, they get coated in ACF 50, they get a cover put on them, they get on a trickle charger, they either get the fuel tanks drained or they get some additive in there, and that's it, it's lights off until March or April next year. And normally, to be perfectly honest, that's what I tend to do. The thought of going out when it starts to get colder than this, when it starts to get single figures, I'm not a massive fan of that. And certainly when it starts dipping pretty low and you start getting worrying about ice on the roads, that's an absolute no for me. But obviously with that comes the dark nights, comes the wetter days, comes the rain, visibility gets worse. Everything about it makes it more challenging and more difficult riding a bike. And I suppose that's the whole point, isn't it? If I did ride in those conditions, in those temperatures, when they're not ideal, lovely spring and summer days, I'd probably be a better rider, wouldn't I? And I discovered that in France. If you watch my France videos, the Normandy videos, I think on one of them, maybe the third or fourth video, possibly the last one, I do talk about when we got caught out in the rain and how I started to feel a bit vulnerable, a bit, you know, confidence started to dip a little bit because I just don't ride in those conditions. And strangely, in this country, we've got the perfect country to practice those conditions, haven't we? You know, we've got the perfect climate that gives you a bit of everything. Lovely summer days, misty cold mornings, thick fog, pouring down rain, sleet, snow, mist, hail. We get it all here, don't we? So if you ride all year round, you probably become very, very competent in every kind of weather. And that's definitely not me. I don't mind days like this, when the road's nice and dry, even if it's a bit chilly, that's fine. But yeah, maybe I need to start riding through winter. So yeah, there's two groups of people, isn't there? There's those people I just talked about, where the bike goes away, gets covered up, and they forget about it. You can see how misty it is out there. They cover it up and forget about it until spring. And you get the other guys and girls who will just ride regardless. Maybe they have to, maybe they commute, and it's their only mode of transport. And others just want to ride all year round. They love riding so much that the weather just doesn't put them off. And I think I probably fit somewhere in between the two. I don't really want to mothball the bike for 6 months. It just seems a bit of a waste, doesn't it? So maybe I'll try and get out more over winter, but perhaps pick and choose. What I do need to consider is the gear that I wear. Because I don't ride in winter, haven't ride in winter, I don't have, you know, really good quality winter gear. So I'm out today in an Oxford mesh jacket and a t-shirt, summer gloves, riding jeans and summer boots, and I'm away. It's great, but I haven't got the kit really to go out in colder weather, wetter weather. So maybe I need to invest in the right gear, and that will make me that will inspire me and give me a bit of confidence to get out a bit more in inclement weather possibly. I mean, there are a few bikes, I have to say. I've passed a few bikes so far, so people are out and about, and maybe they are making the most of it before it turns, possibly. So yeah, I'll have to have a think about that, see what Mike's plans are and the lads' plans are over winter. You know, is there a possibility of a winter tour even? That's something that I've certainly never done. You know, going on an overnighter or a few nights away in November, December, January, February, that's just never happened before for me. And maybe it's a sign of getting older, because many, many years ago, when I was in my early 30s, so 20 years ago, I lived in Birmingham during the week. I had a company apartment in Birmingham, right in the centre of Birmingham, and one of the main reasons I got into motorcycling was so I could ride to Birmingham back, because this was before the M6 toll. It was an absolute nightmare to get to and from Birmingham. I used to go down on a Sunday night. I mean, going down on a Monday morning was just absolutely impossible. It was 4 hours to get to Birmingham on a Monday morning in the old days. So I'd go down on a Sunday night and then I'd come back on a Friday night, back up to the northwest, and in a car it was just horrible, appalling. So I had an old Thunder Race at the time. Well, I had a 600 Bandit at first, and then I had a Thunder Race, and I used to ride pretty much all year round to and from Birmingham. And Sundays I'd ride down a Sunday night and it'd be 0 degrees, sleet and hail, and I'd just jump on the bike and go. When I got there, I'd have to stand in the shower for a good hour to try and thaw out, to try and get the cold out of my bones. So I used to do it. I think when you're a little bit younger, you cur a bit less, don't you? You feel a bit invincible. But now, you know, in my 50s, the thought of jumping on a bike in January and riding to Birmingham in 0 degrees could not be any less of an attractive proposition. So yeah, maybe it's me that's changed, but I'll need to have a think about whether riding, not all year, but riding more in the winter months and riding more when the weather's not perfect is something that I should be doing, something that I could enjoy, and something that I don't doubt would make me a much better biker, a much more skilled biker. What do we think? Maybe the gear is the key. Maybe getting good gear, good waterproof, warm gear, being prepared. Maybe that's the key. Who knows? But for now, I'll make the most of this sort of autumnal weather. So what else has been happening? Well, we had my son's 18th at the end of September. So he was 18 on the 30th of September. And then the weekend after, we had a bit of a do in the house for him. It was going to be called, well, it was called Padstock. We bought a big marquee for the garden, 10 metres by 4 metres for the garden. We booked a singer for the day. So the singer was coming in a few hours in the evening. And it was all going to be brilliant. The weather was lovely running up to it. Everything was set. Going to be a great day. I think there were 60 or 70 people coming. Really looking forward to it. Bought some disco lights for the marquee, big speaker. It was going to be a cracker. And then Storm Amy turned up. Timing could not have been any worse. So it'd been lovely up to the Friday. His due was on the Saturday, and then on Friday Storm Amy rolled in, totally destroyed everything, all the plans. We had to take the marquee down quick sharp before it blew into another postcode area. That got dropped down to the floor. To try and stop it blowing away. We did still have the do. We did it indoors. The house was packed. We still had the singer. He tucked himself away in our little bar room. We have a little back room, which is a bit of a bar room. So he tucked himself in there, and we had an absolutely amazing time. It was class. But yeah, the timing couldn't have been any worse. So in the run up to that, that's been taking up a lot of time. You just seem to have stuff to do in the run up to your kids' birthdays, don't you? Things to organise, things to buy, things to sort. So maybe that's why I've not been out on the bike much. Or is that just a completely pathetic excuse? It probably is actually, yeah. I'm thinking about it, I have had plenty of time to go on the bike. I just haven't bothered. I've no excuse. So we did that, and you can't help but think, for those of you who are sort of my age or maybe a bit younger or older, who've got kids that are growing up, it's a scary thing. You know, they go from first day at school to 18, and you're dropping them off at the pub. I'm dropping my lad off at the pub. What the hell is that all about? You know, the time just goes in an absolute heartbeat. And it feels like 2 minutes since I made the first video. I think it was in April maybe, but it feels like it was, you know, a couple of weeks ago I did that video, my first vlog, and I was talking that about I'm absolutely 100% committed to riding as much as I possibly can this spring and summer. I'm going to be out on the bike all the time, and you know what it's like, just things get in the way, don't they? Best laid plans and all that. So we've ridden a fair bit. We've had a couple of camping trips in. We obviously had the France trip. So we've done a fair whack, but probably not as much as I planned to or would have liked to. And as I say, the time goes so fast that before you know it, that's it. The riding season, if you want to call it that, if you have one, the riding season's over and winter's rolling in. It's just... it's scary how fast this time rolls by. So it's true, isn't it, about what they say, you've got to make the most of it and all that sort of stuff. Must try harder. That's the lesson. Must try harder. And on top of my son's 18th, my younger son, who's 17, will be 17 in December, his basketball season starts again, so they play basketball over winter. He plays National League basketball, quite a high level, and whatever spare time you have, that just swallows it up completely. So Saturday yesterday, he played at Loughborough, so that was a 2-hour drive there, 2-hour drive back. That's your full Saturday gone, and each game takes 2.5 hours, including sort of warm-ups and wrapping up. So it's a 6.5, 7-hour trip out. So there's your Saturday gone completely. He's playing this afternoon again. We have to meet at 2 for a 3 o'clock tip-off. So there's Sunday afternoon gone, and that'll be the pattern now right through until March and April. So yeah, time seems to dwindle away. Obviously I wouldn't change it for the world. I could easily just not go to his game today and just go out on the bike for a full day, go to the Lake District or Peak District, go anywhere I like. But yeah, I know that those times of him playing sports and him wanting his mum and dad there won't last forever either, so we try and make the most of that as much as we can and get to every game and watch him and support him, because one day that'll be gone too, and then I'll have all the time in the world to go motorcycling, won't I? Maybe that's the way I need to start looking at it. In a few more years, the lads may be away doing their own thing and I'll be sat at home twiddling my thumbs, and then maybe that's the time where I can take the opportunity to do more riding. But till then, just have to find that balance between family life and spending as much time as you can with your kids while you've got them around, and trying to get out and do a bit of stuff for yourself every now and again as well. Yeah, what do we think of that as well? There's probably a lot of people in that same position, isn't there? Especially if you work long hours or you do a long commute and you're not getting back till late evening. It's probably quite difficult to balance the time with your family and your kids and your wife and all the other commitments you've got, and hobbies such as motorcycling or wherever else you're into. What I will say is I think it does make it a bit sweeter when you do go out. Maybe that's just me. If you don't get a chance to go out much, or you're just lazy like me and you choose not to go out too much, then going out feels like a novelty. It sort of brightens up your day a bit. So yeah, what do we think of that? How do you sort of find the balance between commitments, stuff you need to do, and getting out and about on the bike, or doing whatever hobby it is you enjoy? Not that any hobby is as good as motorcycling, obviously, but you get me drift. So here are the Augs lights I was talking about. As you can see, nice easy fitment on a Denali soundbar. 2 eBay jobbies seem to do the trick. Well, I've been out and about for a bit. It is getting really rather chilly now, I have to say. The mesh jacket and t-shirt combination was not a good idea. So I decided to skip the food stop off and just head home. Maybe get a bacon butty on the go and a brew when I get in. That's unless the Operation Tidy Up is still underway. One thing I did forget to mention actually, when I came back from France and I said the bike got good cleaning, a good ACF 50, which it did. The other thing I did was change the oil in it. You'll know if you've watched the tour videos that literally the day before we set off for Normandy, the clutch was being replaced on the bike. So that was done, but the oil wasn't changed at the time. So I took it to France and it did make quite a noticeable improvement. The clutch did feel a lot better, but when I came back I decided to drop the oil myself, change the filter, change the oil. And contrary to what I've said in a previous video, where I said I don't believe I can tell the difference between oils and suspension settings and all the other stuff you're supposed to look after when you own a bike. The oil that I've put in, normally I would just get whatever's on offer from Euro car parts and use that stuff, but I splashed out a little bit, got some Motul stuff this time, bike specific oil. And I have to say, at the risk of proving myself wrong last time, it does feel better. Not necessarily the way the bike rides, but the just the gear change and the way the clutch is working now. It could also be that new clutch has started to bed in a bit more, and obviously we did probably about, I don't know, 1,800, 2,000 miles maybe on the front strip, so it's had a lot of time to bed in now. But since dropping that oil coming back and putting the I suppose what you call a more premium grade oil in there, does feel a lot better. It's moving up and down the gears a lot better. It's nicking into neutral much better than it was before we went. So yeah, maybe it's a combination of the clutch bedding in and the better quality oil, but it certainly does feel better. So maybe I just don't know what I'm talking about, and maybe I got it wrong on the last video when I was talking about oil making absolutely no difference to any bike I've ever owned. Just shows what I know, doesn't it? How can you trust the word of a man who's out when it's about 9 or 10 degrees in a t-shirt and a summer mesh jacket? What do I know? So yeah, it's going to head home. 10 minutes from home now. Bike will be away again, and I'll make the usual promise to myself to get out on it more often, because there's only a couple of weeks and the clocks go back, and then it's even evening rides are out the window then, really, aren't they? Although maybe not with the new dazzlingly bright auxiliary lights. Maybe it's opened up the window of evening travel, perhaps. We'll see. So as always, thanks very much for watching. Look at that for a great bus. That's going to the St Helens Transport Museum, which is in the town centre. If ever you're in St Helens, I'm not entirely sure why you would be, but if you are, the St Helens Transport Museum right in the town centre, I think it's about £4 or £5 to get in, and there's lots of old buses like that from right through from wartime all the way through to the 80s and 90s and early 2000s. It has a few old cars in there, motorbikes, other transport memorabilia. It's a great little trip out, and every Sunday, I think they still do this, is you can go for a little ride on a bus like that. So one of the vintage classic buses does the rounds every Sunday, and it's included in your £5 entry or whatever it is. And you can jump on a bus and take a tour of St Helens. I mean, what more do you want out of life? So there's my bit for the St Helens Tourist Board done. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheerio for now.